good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of High Heat as we chat to you about what's going on here as we head to mid-June. Nice to have with us Liberty Mutual, of course, with our good buddies Moses and Mitch Green today. It's you and I. Looking forward to that Sunday show on the network. Ken Griffey starts at 8 o'clock. It's like about 90 minutes. You know that would be great. Boy wonder there for Seattle. And here's our good buddy Howard Reynolds. He, of course, part of the staff, does a superb job, and he knows Griffey well. He and Marion in 83. Griffey got there in 89, and he joins us now. Howard, good to have you with us. And I'm sure was he the top pick in the draft? So you knew what you were going to get when he showed up there in 89. You knew that this guy probably right away was the real thing, right?
Well, I knew the minute we saw him try out. You know, there was a lot of number one picks, as you well know, that were busts. It just didn't work out. So you don't really know what you're going to get to this Hall of Fame caliber. You weren't expecting that. But the first day he came to work out, you know, the number one pick comes and works out with the major league team. So he walks in with this great big old afro. And we had all seen and grew up watching his dad. So we knew who his dad was. And we figured, you know, his dad used to one hand flip the ball over the place. Not a lot of power, but a little bit. Junior hops in the cage. He's already 6'4". He's kind of skinny, starting to grow into his body. But he starts rocketing balls in the upper deck. And we were like, who is this? Wow. And a year later, you know, he was on the big club.
So it did take a year. So he had that first spring training. How did he fit in right away? Now, you guys were a bad team, so you needed a couple of saviors. So that, from that standpoint, probably helped. Now, you put a lot of pressure on him. But I would think that you would die and have a 20-year-old on the ball club to sort of bring a new era of Mariner baseball. How about that for a second?
Yeah, actually, he came to work out with us when he got drafted. He was 17, turned 18 that year in November. And then the following spring, he came to spring training, and Dick Williams was still the manager. He wanted to keep him. And at 18, he wanted to make our club because, yes, we were struggling, but he was that good. And then he went and played that season of A-ball and advanced, I think, to AA. And then the next year at 19, Jim Lefevre got him and brought him to the big leagues. By then, Dick Williams had been let go.
All right. What did he what if he had a weakness, you know, breaking pitches, fastballs up and in, you know, playing, knowing the hitters right? What was the weakness early in his career that you noticed right away in his rookie year?
Probably just a little aggressive. You know, he swung at everything. He didn't strike out a whole lot, but he swung at a lot of pitches like a lot of young guys will. And then he tried to catch everything in the outfield. I mean, any ball hit, he was running everywhere and throwing over cutoff men. I mean, his talents were off the charts. And by mid-season, he was the best player on our club or headed that direction. He'd figured it out. He was hitting breaking balls. He was hitting balls the other way. They played him against left-handers. He ran balls down. He started hitting cutoff men, and you knew you had something special.
All right, now listen, the Mariners didn't really get going as far as the fan base is concerned for about 4 years. You know, that '95 pennant race and catching the Angels and the Yankees and everything else. So those first 3 or 4 years, was he a curiosity? I mean, I really didn't draw great. It took him a little while for the Northwest. I mean, Griffey's one of the famous athletes in the history of Seattle. He wasn't those first 4 years at the Kingdome, and people did not show up that much. Give me some thoughts on that for a sec. Go ahead.
Well, they showed up for him. You know, I remember the opening day, he hit a home run the first time he came to the Kingdome, and everything was about the kid. You know, a 19-year-old, that was a novelty in itself. They had a candy bar after him. He became a phenomenon, and as we traveled, his jersey became the most popular jersey. You know, he fit in great with the kids. He had his hat backwards, and he was 19 years old, and youngsters could identify with him, and he played video games and talked about that while we're all still watching the television. You know, so I remember getting on airplanes, and he would have them bring in 2 TVs, and he set up in the back of the plane so he could play video games on our flights across country.
Wow,
you know, so he was a kid, and it caught on quick. And so I would say by his second or third year, he started having people filling out stadiums and coming to watch him play.
How about the family dynamic when his father came for a year? Well, give me some thoughts on that. Go ahead.
That went to a whole nother level. Obviously, you know, we grew up watching the Big Red Machine, and we knew about his dad. I think because he played with his dad, he became a great hitter. You know, you look at when he was probably 20 years old, it's when his dad joined us, and he went to a whole nother level. And here's one for you, Mad Dog. Nobody in the organization touch his swing. He'd come out early and hit, and he would hit extra, different things like that. He worked his tail off. But the only guy, even when his dad was not playing with us, Gene Klein's our hitting coach, and he was the only one allowed to talk to Junior, and he'd call Senior and say, what does he do? And they had their little buzzwords. He'd hop on the phone. He worked on his swing. So when his dad showed up, he was not only his dad, but he was his hitting coach and his friend, his mentor, everything. And it just took Ken to another level.
And he had a long swing. I mean, it wasn't like he had a short, compact swing. He coiled like a cobra. He had a big swing. Did he not, Harold?
Yeah, he did. I mean, he learned that. I think when he first came in, he tried to peck the ball like his dad quite a bit. But as he grew, I think when he first came to Seattle, he was about 180 pounds. And when he became a man, by the time he was 25 or so, he put on another 20 pounds. And if you ever stood next to him, he's a big guy.
Yes,
and so he was able to incorporate that. He always would tell everybody, I'm just a line drive hitter. And the ball would carry. But that came with natural growth and size. And I want to throw that in there. The great thing, I look back at Griffey in that era and great hitters and sluggers that came along, he was clean. You know, I think the injuries that he had, you'll look at, they were natural. But he was clean, and I think that's impressive.
100%. I mean, nobody ever suspected him of anything. You think he enjoyed making that great Willie Mays circus catch, climbing walls, or do you think he enjoyed the home run instead?
I think the joy he would have in making a catch and shaking the ball was impressive. Now, I'll tell you this quick story about his arm. We're going into New York to play the Yankees. And on the plane, him and Edwin Nunez, one of our starting pitchers, he threw in the mid-90s, talking smack the whole way from Seattle to New York. I got a better arm. No, you do. I throw 95 on a mound. No, you can't. This and that. Yeah. So we get to New York, walk out for BP, and they're still going at it. And they say, all right, let's see who can throw the ball over the black seats in center. All right, from home plate. So Edwin reaches it, clang up there where Reggie hit the ball off a huff, right?
Yeah.
Junior throws a ball out of the center field. And it was like, drop the mic, conversation over.
How about that? I would think his first trip in a Yankee Stadium, his father played for the Yankees. He had a history of, he knew something about the history of baseball because obviously the Yankees and the Reds played in the World Series in '76. New York, big market. He's playing out in Seattle. Not that many people see him playing a day in, day out basis. I would think his first couple of trips in the Yankee Stadium when he was a young kid were something. I don't remember it, but they must have been something to behold, correct?
Oh, they were. He put on a show. You know, it's funny. He had two things he did not like about the Yankees. One, he would wear his hat backwards, and the first one that said something about it was Buck Showalter, like, hey, you got to wear your hat the proper way. The reason he wore his hat the way he did was when he was a kid, he'd put on his dad's hat and it never fit, so he'd just spin it around. So that's how he came up with wearing his hat backwards.
Okay.
The second one, and the most important one, was Billy Martin, when his dad was playing there, would not let the kids be in the clubhouse. He'd kick them out. And his dad, they get into this in the documentary. You'll see it come 8 o'clock on, when does it air?
Sunday night.
Sunday night. You'll see it there. It's in the documentary. But that's a true story. Ever since that, he had it out for the Yankees. And it didn't matter if it was a regular season or a postseason, he was coming after the Yankees.
And he scores the game-winning run. Howard, great job. We look forward to it here on Sunday night at 8 o'clock. You were superb, of course. A good chronicler yourself. Keep up the good work. Always a pleasure. We'll talk soon. Appreciate it today.
All right, my friend. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it. Howard Reynolds, it's great to have him with us. Liberty Mutual, of course. Great job with them. Moses and Mitch Green. We'll see you down the road here on High Heat. Adios.